What's up? Guess what I just did? Donkey Kong 64 has been 101% completed. Let's talk about it. That's right, friends. My time, at least for now, with Donkey Kong 64 has, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on who you are, has come to an end. Now, I'm going to go into full detail in this video. I'm going to walk through world by world my experience with each world, how I felt about them, visually, gameplay-wise, the vibes of the world entirely. So I'm going to walk you guys through as I was unlocking the Kongs, as I progressed from Jungle Japes to Angry Aztec, from Angry Aztec to Frantic Factory, etc. I'm going to walk you guys through my entire journey, 101% completing Donkey Kong 64. But before we get into that, again, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. If you're not subscribed, there is a large percentage of viewers that are not subscribed to the channel, and it takes less than a second, and it helps creators like me out very much, and we very much appreciate it. And if you guys didn't know, this game, Donkey Kong 64, actually won the Guinness World Record for the most collectibles in a single video game. It's well over 3,500, and once you start playing, you really start feeling it. But me, being a 3D platformer fan, a collectathon fan, and just a Nintendo Donkey Kong fan in general, I really didn't mind it. I did it. It took me about 24 hours playtime to do it. I can't wait to talk about it. Now let's dive in to the specifics, to the nitty-gritty of my journey with Donkey Kong 64. Now, a little fact that kind of makes this more interesting is that when I got my N64 and I got Donkey Kong 64 on June 28th is when I started playing the game, not that long ago, I wasn't planning on 100% completing the game, let alone 101% completing the game. I thought maybe somewhere down the line I could maybe 101% it, but I've never been that guy, you know? I've never been the guy who strives for the platinums in PlayStation. I've never tried for 100%ing in Donkey Kong or any Donkey Kong Country. I just haven't cared, you know? I just haven't felt the need, nor the desire, nor the want to do something like that, because I can well experience a game without doing that. And I still 100% believe that. So don't ever feel like you need to do 100%, 101% to fully enjoy a game. No matter what anyone says, it's just not true. But if I were to do that, if I were to sit down and give countless hours to a game, collecting every single item in the game that it has to offer, that it's throwing at me, and these 5 other characters, 100 plus different collectibles per world, per character in each world, what better game to do something like that than, again, the game with the very most collectibles in any game ever. Now, I don't know if that still stands true today. I know it won the Guinness World Record when it came out. I would assume that it still holds the title, or at least is close to it. But yeah, what better game to do something like that than with this one? Because now I know that I'm capable of 100%ing any game that life throws at me. But let's start diving into the specifics, shall we? You start Donkey Kong 64, and you have the tutorial area. I'm not going to touch on it because it's quite honestly, it's not very fun. It's pretty bland, and it just kind of introduces you to the controls. I think Banjo-Kazooie did a much better job at throwing a tutorial world at you, but it is what it is. It's not very long, and it did a good job, at least, at introducing you to the controls. And after that, you are introduced to the first world, Jungle Japes. I really, really like Jungle Japes. At first, it was a little confusing, but, you know, you run around it once, and you understand where things are. You know where Snide is, you know where Funky is, you know where Cranky is. And as you progress through the game, i.e. Angry Aztec, Frantic Factory, etc., and you unlock more Kongs, you can then go back to worlds like Jungle Japes and get the golden bananas or the collectibles or whatever that you missed, or things that you physically couldn't get without all of the Kongs being unlocked. There are golden bananas that are up a hill that only Lanky Kong can climb, and you need him, but you don't unlock him until Angry Aztec, the next world. So Jungle Japes, I'm not going to put these in like a tier list or anything. That's definitely on the docket. There will be a Worlds of Donkey Kong 64 tier list coming eventually, but it's not in this video. But Jungle Japes, it's very simple. It's a very, you know, it's a pretty harmless tutorial world, but it's a lot of fun, and it does a very good job at introducing you to the mechanics and just the gameplay loop that is present in Donkey Kong 64. You then arrive at Angry Aztec. Now, this one really confused me at first, because it's a big jump going from Jungle Japes to Angry Aztec, because you have a lot of buildings, like a lot of temples that then have their own layouts and their own warp pads, and then you go back outside and there's more warp pads for that set, and then you go through a tunnel and you're in another big open area with their own warp pads. And just the jump from Jungle Japes to Angry Aztec was very jarring. But I did like Angry Aztec a lot. I would probably put it, you know what, I'm going to put it below Jungle Japes just because of the beetle race. I think the beetle race is an atrocity. There are a lot of minigames, quite frankly, in this game that are just awful. The beetle race, multiple beetle races throughout this game. There's the bunny race, which I didn't think was that bad. I kind of cheated, but whatever. Beaver bother. There's just a lot of minigames that are, quite frankly, terrible. But that's beside the point. They're not very long, and they didn't hinder my experience at all. Angry Aztec, the vibes are there. I think it has close to my favorite music in the game. The main theme of Angry Aztec is very, very good. And again, shout out Grant Kirkhope. He's the mastermind behind this game's soundtrack, Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie. A lot of games that you have played and games that you love. The Mario Rabbids franchise, for example. He's incredible. And the vibe and the feel and everything of Angry Aztec is definitely there. I just put it below Jungle Japes because Jungle Japes is just so, it's nostalgic and it's just a great tutorial world. Next, we move on to potentially my favorite world in the game, Frantic Factory. The vibes are 100% there. It's an abandoned toy factory, and from the moment that I stepped foot and you can unlock 2 warp pads immediately, I was hooked. I was fully into this world. I love the way that it's laid out. I'm still a little confused by it just because there are a lot of hallways that look the same. But this is where you unlock my goat, Chunky, and this is where the game truly found its voice for me. And I'm going to give a shout out to a couple members of my community and my Discord. Silver, who is actually playing through this game with me. I think he just, depending on when this video goes up, he either just finished the game or he's about to finish the game. Regardless, we've kind of been playing through it together a little bit, kind of at the same pace, and it's been fun talking with somebody who's been going through it with me. And then you have Andrew, who is a moderator in my Discord. Silver's a moderator as well. But Andrew is just, you know, he's an incredible dude. He's always there in my community. He's always there in the streams. And then Rare Warrington, I'm sure you've heard of him, part of the Kooky crew. And he was the one that kind of motivated me to 101% the game. He loves Donkey Kong 64, as well as, you know, Super Joe Bros and Jiggy Lookback, who were in the last video. There's a lot of love for this game. And that kind of just rubbed off on me, I guess. And I'm like, you know what? I think I owe it to this game. I haven't played it ever, and I'm 23 years old. I'm a Donkey Kong fan, allegedly, and I never played the game, so I felt like I owed it that. And so I did. So again, shout out to them. Join the Discord. Frantic Factory is a ton of fun. I love how it's laid out. I love the lighting. This is where the dynamic lighting really came through. If you didn't know, that is one of the big reasons the N64 needed the expansion pack to run this game, because you could look at this game at face value and be like, it looks like an N64 game. What's so impressive about it? But then you get into the dark hallways of Frantic Factory and you're like, oh, like there's actual shadows there. There's actual lighting happening there. So again, it makes sense. And the lighting was the big thing that kind of sold me on this world. I loved the boss, the Jack in the Box guy, Mad Jack, I think is his name. Incredible boss. I didn't touch on the boss in Jungle Japes or Angry Aztec because quite frankly, they're both pretty, you know, bleh. They're super easy. Armadillo and Mogadon or whatever his name is. They're nothing special, but they did their job. But Mad Jack was awesome. I love that you actually used Tiny Kong's abilities instead of just throwing a random Kong, and I really loved it. The music here, this is my favorite tune, my favorite theme from this game. The music is out of this world. Grant Kirkhope absolutely cooked. Loved this level. Loved everything about it. I really did. I really don't have any issues. And again, this is where the game really clicked. You got the 5 Kongs. You're starting to unlock the abilities you need to go back and get the fairies, get the golden bananas that you missed. And it's really just where the game took off. Then you head to Gloomy Gallion. Now, I was very harsh on this world at first. And I still sort of am. I don't think it's a very great world. I think that the swimming and the water controls, it's an N64 game. So yeah, the water controls are kind of, I'm not going to say horrendous, but they are quite bad. But I think the game pulls it off well. I think it is miles better than the Water Temple in Ocarina of Time, and people consider Ocarina of Time one of the greatest games of all time, and they're not wrong in saying that. The more that I look back on Gloomy Gallion and just the aesthetic of it all and the music, I think I really did have a good time. It's not a perfect world. It is far from it. It's definitely on like the bottom half if I were to rank them. but I didn't have a bad time with it. I love the way that it's laid out. Once I got the hang of it, you know, like go down the hallway. On this side, there's a lighthouse. And on this side, there's the other side, which is just a bunch of water and the crashed ships. I really liked that. And I thought at first, again, the layout was pretty confusing, but that's how it is with every 3D platformer slash collectathon of this era in particular. The first time you start out in a world, it's going to be confusing, but that's just how it is. You have to, you know, learn the ropes, figure out where things are, find the landmarks, and go from there. And once I did, I didn't have a bad time with Gloomy Gallion. Again, it immediately loses points because of all of the water traversal, and I don't like it, especially with a game with a camera this picky and this, quite frankly, bad. But again, it's still a very solid world. Does it rank in the bottom half of the worlds? Probably. But it is not a bad world at all, and I had a really good time in Gloomy Gallion. Next is Fungi Forest. Now, if you guys didn't know, this was actually supposed to be in Banjo-Kazooie, but it was too big and the day-night cycle was just too much, and so they scrapped it and they moved it to Donkey Kong 64. So there's a little trivia for you if you didn't know. I'm very conflicted with Fungi Forest, and I have a little story for you guys. Oh, going back to Gloomy Gallion for a sec. That boss was absolutely atrocious. I hate driving the boat, and I hate pretty much everything about that boss. It was terrible. Anyway, Fungi Forest. I was open right when I started. I was very open-minded with this world. I was like, okay, we got a change of scenery, we got a forest. The art style I felt was definitely Banjo-Kazooie coded, if that makes any sense. It kind of felt not out of place, but it just felt like it kind of an alternate universe. If that makes any sense, I could be nitpicking, but it just felt kind of off, you know? It kind of felt like a world from a different game with Donkey Kong sprites sprinkled in, and that's fine. It was still a very fun, very pretty world to look at. However, the day-night cycle was cool about the first 2 times, and I got really aggravated towards the end of the world. If you guys didn't know, I was talking to, again, my buddy Silver, shout out in the Discord, and I was on one of the Diddy Kong pads, and I had to use his guitar, and it was daytime, and I'm like, why is this not working? Like, am I missing a Candy Kong upgrade? Like, is my guitar not good enough? What's going on? And he said, you have to do it during the nighttime. There was no indicator to tell me that it had to be nighttime. There was no thing on the wall that had the moon logo. There was nothing like that. And so I had to go all the way back to the clock tower thing. I had to shoot the moon logo to make it nighttime. I had to use the warp pad and go all the way back to where I was and then do the pad just to get access to the challenge to get the golden banana after I completed the challenge, after doing the guitar on the pad. Things like that in this world just really drove me nuts because you already have a lot of backtracking in this game, and I don't mind most of it because it's a fun experience. Having to go back with a different Kong to get certain collectibles and stuff, that doesn't bother me. I don't have a problem with that at all, and I mean, you might, but just in my opinion, I didn't mind it. But when you throw in the day-night thing, and you're like, oh, finally, I just switched to Chunky Kong. He's the one that I need to get in this barn. Oh, wait, never mind. I can't break down this door because it's nighttime and it has to be daytime. So let me go all the way back to the opening area and make it daytime, and then go all the way back with Chunky Kong and then open the door. But then you go in and there's a banana in there locked in a cage that says the moon logo. So it has to be nighttime. So you got to go back, the moon logo. It's annoying. I really, really dislike that mechanic, and it really, really discouraged me from continuing on. Obviously I did, and I got past it, but I do not miss that world at all. Again, it's a very visually nice world to look at. There's a lot of great places, set pieces. The challenges are fun. All of the Kongs have their time to shine, but it was just not a good mechanic, especially when there's already so much backtracking. Adding in the day-night cycle and having to change it yourself was not the move. I kind of see where they were going. It's kind of a cool mechanic on paper, but in a game like this, it definitely did not need to be there. And the boss of Fungi Forest is Dogadon again, but this time you actually get to turn into Chunky Kong and you fight him when you're big. So that's pretty fun, but again, pretty standard boss. Next is Crystal Caves. Now this one, again, not my favorite. I was very game at first. It looked good. The music was very catchy. It was kind of a vibe. But the layout of this world is by far the worst in the entire game, in my opinion. It is very jumbled. It is very confusing because there is a surprising lack of notable landmarks in this place. In Gloomy Gallion, you have a sign that literally says, "This way for lighthouse." You have the lighthouse, the destroyed ship, you have the tower with all of the instrument pads on it, you have the ship in general, you have the caves. You have a lot of landmarks in Gloomy Gallion, and you do in most of these worlds, except Crystal Caves. And throughout the entire time playing it, there's one of the big enemies with the big mace things, I don't know what they're called, and the Viking helmets, that are making these crystals fall from the sky, fall from the ceiling, and hit you, and a lot of the time, it'll knock you off all the way down into the water, and you have to find your way back up. And if that wasn't confusing enough, you have to swim a long way to get to a point where the land is low enough to get back onto real solid land. And that, again, it could have been the best world because the vibes, the music, it was there. And the aesthetic of being in a crystal cave was there. But there was a shocking lack of crystals in this area. And it was just felt like a big, endless cave of a maze cave, and it was just not it. It was definitely one of my least favorites in the game. A lot of the challenges, there's beaver ball, it's not a good world. I can say that in confidence. This is not a good world, at least to me. I'm glad I did it because I was able to complete the game, but yeah, I did not have a good time with this one. Funny, going from one of my least favorite worlds to one of my favorite. Creepy Castle is extremely fun. It has one of my favorite bosses in any game ever. It's really, really funny. So Creepy Castle, you're kind of making your way up this castle, and from the very beginning, the music is the original Donkey Kong theme. It's really, really great. There's a great attention to detail here and everything that they're like, all the sets, all of the everything. It's a really polished world in my opinion. And the entire goal is to climb the tower, right? Climb the castle, climb the creepy castle. And just from the beginning, the vibes and the spookiness and like all the Halloween elements sprinkled through, it's a really creepy world, but it's really creepy in the absolute best way. And there were times like there were like people groaning and sort of screaming built into the soundtrack. And that really shocked me because I didn't know if that was something physically happening in the game or if that was actually part of the soundtrack. But it is part of the soundtrack, and I thought that was really creative, and it's not something that I thought was actually happening. I thought maybe I was hearing things. But no, it was built in, and it really sold the aesthetic of you breaking into this place, a place you're not supposed to be. The Kremlin Museum and the library and the ballroom, everything here is extremely memorable. I don't have a lot of nitpicks. It's laid out perfectly. You have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pads right next to each other. Super easy to go to places you know where they are. This was an incredibly fun time doing Creepy Castle. And to top this great experience all off, you have one of the most creative bosses that I've ever seen. Captain Cutout, or King Cutout, I don't remember his name. But it's literally a giant cardboard cutout of King K. Rool. And you have to use all of the Kongs to get into cannons and shoot the Kongs at the cutout. And then once you do that 3 times and then 3 times and then 3 times, the cutout breaks. And it's just so funny because I don't feel like many other companies besides Rare could make a boss fight of you literally just fighting and launching yourself at a cardboard cutout of the main villain, and they can still make it thoroughly entertaining and engaging and fun. I don't know of a lot of other companies that could sell something like that, but they did, and they did it perfectly. A very fun boss to top off one of my favorite worlds in the game. And then you have Hideout Helm, which is, I wouldn't even consider it a full world. It is very short. It took me about 25-30 minutes total because there's no golden bananas in this world, and there are no bananas either. Just 2 banana fairies and the boss key. That's it for this world. But you go through, you have to beat every Kong, and you have to do 2 challenges at each Kong, and then when you do that, it shuts down their power. So if you're Tiny Kong, you do it. The purple line of power gets shut down, Chunky, the green line of power, etc. And then you get the banana token, or the banana coin, whatever you want to call them, and then you move on. You go up to the top of the tower, where K. Rool usually is, and it's revealed that he has like this big ship, and he blasts off, and you get the last of the fairies, and you get the boss key, and then he crashes. K. Lumsy comes out, and he stubs his toe, and he swats the ship out of the air. It crashes, and then you enter the main boss fight, and this final boss was so great. Again, I didn't know what to expect because I had never played through this game before, and it was so much fun. Much better than I was expecting. It's not perfect. I have a couple nitpicks, which I will definitely talk about. But overall, what a fantastic way to end the game. So, first one, obviously, you're Donkey Kong. You just jump into the barrels. You shoot yourself at K-Rool, essentially. Very easy first phase. Second phase, you are Diddy Kong, and you're forced to use his jetpack. The worst part of this game. The jetpack is so bad. It's so touchy, and the entire time you're trying to shoot the targets, he's launching these pretty much undodgeable boxing gloves at you. Horrendous aspect of this game. The jetpack is so bad, but it's easy enough to get through, and then you move on to Lanky Kong. You hit the buttons, barrels are dropped, you throw the barrel so it explodes in the middle of the arena, and there's a giant banana that spawns, and so you play your trombone to get K-Rool to run at you. He slips on the banana 4 times, boom, end of that phase. Fourth phase, Tiny Kong, and this is the only part where I had to restart. This is the only part where I actually died. So he jumps up and he lands on his butt, and he sends out shockwaves. You have to jump over them and use her twirl to make sure that you miss them, right? Easy enough in principle. You do that a couple times, a tiny barrel spawns, you big simian jump into it, whatever it's called, and then you go into his shoe, and then you have to shoot all 4 of his toes with your gun. Yes, you have to shoot all of his toes. You move in, kind of like the Thanos theory, like why didn't Ant-Man just into Thanos and do that? Whatever. They didn't go that way, but they did something very interesting. You go into his shoe, you shoot his first toe 1 time, second toe 2 times, third time 3 times, and then fourth toe 4 times. Say that 5 times fast. And that phase is over, and then you move on to phase 5, my favorite, because I'm not biased at all. Chunky Kong. K-Rool turns invisible. You got to dodge him a little bit, turn into big Chunky Kong, Hunky Chunky, I think is what they call him. And then you have to do the primate smash or whatever it's called, the primate punch, whatever. Do that 4 times, K-Rool is defeated. Every single Kong is on full display here. All of their abilities are very well used, and I absolutely love the way that everyone was incorporated. Not only our 5 main Kongs, but also the Kremlings, who are the announcers, are hilarious. The judges in the judge box. Then you also have Candy Kong at the end, which I was dying laughing. Was not expecting that at all. And then you have the guy, Funky Kong, who gives and delivers the final punch to K-Rool. And then that is the end of the game. I am so happy that I beat this game. And not only beat it, I beat it. I 101%ed the game. I am so glad that I did. I can finally join the ranks of guys like Super Joe Bros and Jiggy Lookback and Rare Warrington and all these amazing creators who see the greatness in this game, because this game truly is so much fun. And if you want to play it, hopefully it's getting added to NSO soon. I would put money on that. I think it's going to happen very soon, especially with the release of Bonanza. But yeah, that is my journey through Donkey Kong 64, and there's going to be more videos on it. I'm going to make a tier list video of the bosses, of the worlds, of probably the 5 Kongs. Who knows? An entire new game has opened up to me. The world is my oyster. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did making it, and as much as I have been playing through this game. We passed 6,100 subscribers. Again, I feel like we just passed 6,000, but yeah, we just shot past 6,100. I think we're at 6,140 last time I checked. It's an incredible time. It really is an incredible time to be a Nintendo fan. So, like the video, subscribe, comment what you guys think of this game. I hope you guys enjoyed. Have a great rest of your day, guys, and take care.